Literary criticism is a discipline like any other academic discipline. It has its own archive. It has its primary archive. It has an archive of scholarship, an archive of precedents. Its canons of proof and refutation are established just as in any other discipline. I always try and emphasize that this is an intellectual exercise that is disciplined and rigorous and has its own sort of demands. One of those just being literary criticism, just reading what other people have written about the book or the poem or the novel that we want to work on, just seeing what other critics and what other interpretations people have come up with, and we call that criticism. A first step in doing literary research has to be expanding one's canon of reading in relevant works to a sufficient degree, so that if you're looking at a Gothic novel, read some other Gothic novels. If you're looking at a novel by George Eliot, read some other George Eliot novels. So the first step I always say to the students is to build up a project where you say, I'm going to read a lot of literary magazines from the 1890s, or I'm going to read a lot of sonnet sequences, or I'm going to read all of Eliot's novels, or a set of all the, I'm going to read 10 or 12 novels written in 1848 if one's looking at Jane Eyre. So the first step is to develop a canon of contextualizing materials. I talk about literary theory as another kind of context that they can bring, theoretical approaches that as something they can bring to the literary text. And then finally I talk to them about historical context, about looking up information. That sometimes a particular crux in a text may be a crux not because the interpretation or the author's intention isn't known, but because a particular word isn't known, or because a student starts to wonder, I wonder if this kind of thing really happened in the Victorian period. So I try and emphasize those three aspects of research: knowing the scholarship, having a diverse range of methodologies or theories at hand, and historical context. English has the legacy, or has the air of an extraordinarily diverse range of methodologies, and feminism and psychoanalysis and Marxism and post-structuralism in linguistics and philosophy would probably be the major ones. I try and take a particular text. I like to find a novel or a poem which has received really wonderful, very distinctive readings, a feminist reading, a psychoanalytic reading, a Marxist reading, and have the students read each of these in interpretations, and then try and talk about whether they use the same evidence and simply read it differently, or whether the different kinds of methodologies appeal to different kinds of evidence. Well, I think research skills are extraordinarily important in a wide variety of sort of paths of life. In life after the BA. So I think that the research skills and the communication skills that one develops in the course of doing a research project in the humanities in general, and in literary criticism especially, have tremendous applicability and relevance to a wide range of tasks and vocations.